Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are discussing the art of still showing up, even when you don't want to, and even when you feel like there's no motivation there. So, let's talk about those times. Sometimes it's because you're feeling burned out. And if that's the case, definitely listen to the podcast episode on burnout that just released. And sometimes it's because there's an obstacle in the way. And the obstacle could be that it's either just hot outside or that you just don't feel like it or you have your period. Now, the reason why I'm discussing this today is because I'm thinking about the idea of summer and when it's hot out and you have things that you can only do in 4-ish months of the year. So there's different priorities for you at this time just because of the weather. And the weather says go to the beach, have fun, jump in a pool, and be in a bikini. It also says go out with your friends and sit outside and have French fries. It also says go grab a cocktail or a mocktail and watch the sunset. Summer can be distracting and it can be exciting. And those times when it's distracting, it can distract you from your diet plan, your health journey. It can distract you from your routine, the activities that you do, whether you go to the gym, come to dance class. And it can also distract you from your goals, like the things that you're wishing to achieve within this time. Things often get put on hold because something more important or seemingly more important is in front of us and it's shining very bright in front of us and it's telling us to chill and relax and have fun. And let's plot it out. If I do that, if I go outside today and I, put off what I really want to do and what's really going to get me closer to my goals, I'm having fun in the moment and I'm enjoying myself. And then when it comes time for the weather to change and I'm in the same situation that I was in last spring or even last winter, I question myself and I'm like, well, what the heck have I been doing? Well, on the one hand, you've been living it up and you've been spontaneous and you've been doing such a good job with being present and listening to your gut, which is saying, go do this, go have fun. So the balance of that would be knowing when exactly to do that and why and how. And I'm going to give you just a couple of tips that I use for myself when, one, I'm feeling like maybe I don't want to show up that day, or two, I feel like I just want to take like a break. So for me, it's usually I'm teetering on burnout and I need to establish some type of break within my schedule. So I look at a couple of things. One, I want to understand what is going on that week. What am I doing that's going towards my goals? And what can I sacrifice? And what can I enjoy? And how can I enjoy it? Like, it's usually when I'm like right about to have a vacation, like in a couple days, it's going to be the 4th. And I'm just so excited. And I am like premature in my celebration a little bit because like I'm ready to go. Sometimes that doesn't happen though. Like sometimes when I'm ready for a vacation, I'm so in the stuff that I'm doing before it that like but for whatever reason, this week feels different. Also, last week was so hot. Like there's just been like couple of things that have been different and it affects you. So like when things are different, you get to show up different. And that's really what I want to talk about today is how you can still show up and you can show up differently. So it's very easy to blow something off, right? Like you can just be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. Also, like what a pet peeve of mine. Like I hate when people do that because it's not courteous. And I also just think it's like a gigantic lie. And like sticking to your commitments is one of the most honorable things that I find in other people or even within myself. And if I'm being honest, today it could have been very easy to not film this podcast. Why? I just wanted to chill today. And like Josh is really busy today too. And so we could rationalize it all day. And it would totally be like, oh yeah, duh. And there's a lot of reasons why we didn't do that. One, sticking to a schedule is something that is helpful, not only for whatever you're doing and whatever you're delivering or whatever you're serving, whether you're serving yourself or others. And two, because it's like a mind game. And sometimes I think about ourselves as like two different people, like your brain as an entity and then like what you do with your body as a different entity. Sometimes there's three because then there's like your instincts and your gut and your heart. So it's like in my head, sometimes I just like separate it as like three different people or two different people in this case. And if I'm feeding my brain and what my brain wants, it wants the consistency. It wants me to show up how I'm going to show up for what I really want in life, which is to be happy and successful. And doing so much reflection, I'm reflecting all day. I feel like sometimes analyzing and thinking. And what I realize about myself personally is I feel happy when I feel successful. And I often wonder too if that's like just like a weird way of validating. And like that could be a whole other topic as well of like, we talk about that a lot too, right? We talk about self-validating and being able to do that. And success, like I could argue that it's not self-validating. I could argue that that's still external forces, right? Like we could go back and forth. I know we could because you know me in a Socratic seminar. And maybe today I'm showing up differently. I don't think I'm showing up that differently, but I do think that my topic today is a little relevant to what I'm personally experiencing, where usually I stick to a plan. Ironically, today's episode, this is crazy. And this is why things are so divine to me. And I think like for you too, when you start to like open your mind to it, you'll feel like, wow, things really are divine. And that's just so cool. Today's episode was literally going to be about pivoting. Like Josh was like, what are we talking about today earlier? And I was like, pivoting. We're going to talk about pivoting. And then like, as I went around with the day, I was like, I don't want to talk about pivoting today. I want to talk about something that felt a little bit more relevant to me personally today. Because sometimes I feel like those are teachable moments. So I remember back in my teacher training, I'm remembering right now like what exactly it was, but it was a specific lesson that our teachers were teaching us on. How ironic this all is actually, because it's like teachers becoming teachers and teachers teaching teachers how to teach and teaching us about teachable moments. And sometimes you have a lesson plan and some kid asks a question and basically you pivot from your whole lesson plan because it's such a beautiful teachable moment. And how beautiful is that to have something so profound that comes up within your classroom, or in this case, in life, that it's so worthy of having a conversation on it. And this is the other thing too. Like I have a very big goal for myself, and Josh does too, to succeed with our plans. Like I don't want to break our plans. And that's a plan that we have for each other because today's podcast day. So like for me to not do it today, that would mean that he's not doing it today. And if he didn't do it today and I was ready to do it today, then there would be small, tiny shifts. So it's a beautiful commitment that we make to each other to continue because as you know, as a dancer, the show must go on. And no one in the audience is going to know what goes on backstage. Backstage is a mess, right? Like right before backstage, oh my gosh, I have so many funny memories from backstage as a kid, like about to go on in competition and like one of our girls being like, I don't have the right shoes on. And then like having to go back to like the area, which was some random classroom in a high school or wherever it was where we got to put our stuff that day, some like hotel room. And like get her shoe and then like come back with the right shoe on. And then like the rush of like, oh my gosh, is she going to make it back by the time we're on stage? Like, is it worth changing the shoe? Like just go on with the other shoe and get points deducted. Yeah. And then like, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but it's actually like so exciting and cool, especially as like a kid, the idea of like being on like one of the wings and then getting off stage and then having to go like all the way backstage, like through all the shit. like backstage, like all the scenery and like stuff that you could really like injure yourself on, and then get to the other wing to enter the stage on the other side. Like that stuff was so exciting and so fun. And yet like the audience would never know. Like they would never know that that was happening. Like, oh, she forgot her shoe. Who knew? It was a beautiful performance. And we get to show up like dancers do in real life. We get to have this elegance and this grace about the way that we show up. At the end of the day, it's not just that we're showing up for our audience, it's that we're showing up for ourselves. When you can consistently show up for yourself, there's going to be a lot of holes in your life that will get filled in. Because a lot of times my students will come to me and they'll say stuff like, I lost myself. I just want to find myself again. I don't know who I am anymore. And when you stick to your schedule and when you can hold yourself accountable for the things that you want and the things that you've put into your life on purpose with intention to help your future self, because we consciously do that. We put things in our life on purpose, whether it's a goal or something that excites us, and we lose track of that because the path of least resistance, the easier choice, is to sometimes not do it and to sometimes just be like, yeah, I'll take the day off today. Why? Why are you taking the day off today? If we can logically know and understand that consistency looks like this, we know that eventually there's going to be that downhill moment, the down, where we're not going to feel like it. We're not going to have the motivation for it. And we talked about this before when we talked about having what it takes. Having what it takes means, oh, we call on our friend Discipline. And Discipline will be there to help you in any moment like this, because Discipline's going to slap you into it for real. And it's going to say, bitch, come on. You said, don't you remember? And that's where I think about that separate body, like the separate entity of the head, the brain being like, this is da 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 da. And your heart and your gut and your body's like, it's warm outside. Like, I want to go outside and play. Or on a complete opposite note, like, oh no, like it's a great moment to like go in bed and like binge watch Netflix and have snacks. And it's taking us away from our goals, which means it's taking us away from our happiness through success. So to be able to stay on top of it, to be able to stay committed, is yourself actually giving yourself a break, but your future self a break. Because when winter comes and you're wondering, what the heck have I been doing with my life? You're going to be upset and sad, disappointed, frustrated, because your cycle will keep repeating. In order to break the cycle, you got to break the cycle. Josh always laughs at me when I say stuff like this, but that's what it is. In order to break the cycle, break the cycle. If you don't want the same thing happening over and over again, do something different. Try something that you haven't tried before. Find yourself out of that loop. What will help you get out of it? Well, I know Discipline will. And I know the idea in the average of showing up for yourself will, because we can show up for ourselves differently every day. Our moods are always changing. So that is always going to take an effect on us. And what we do with that is figure out ways to continue to be us and also do what we need to do. So compromise, I'm sure you've figured out that word by now if you're here. Compromise, beautiful word. And also, I don't like it. I just feel like it's like one of those words that's just like annoying to hear. Like, oh, you didn't compromise. Did you, you have to learn how to compromise. And like, I don't want to compromise. I just want both. So like, I want to enjoy myself and I want to enjoy the day and I want my podcast to be filmed and I want to do dance and I want to do it all. Why am I not calling it compromise? Is because I'm not compromising myself. Because for me, compromise just feels like you found more clarity and you have the access to do both. And compromise usually means that like something is lost or there's a part of you that's not doing what it wants to do or what you want it to do. And to me, I don't know. I feel like I'm not compromising. No, I'm doing both. I'm spending time with Joshi and I'm filming a podcast. For you, you're managing your schedule, you're going to work, and you're coming to dance class. Or even more specific than that, you're coming to dance and you're modifying. You're coming to dance and you don't feel that good, but like you know you got to show up because your big goal is to dance. We can have it all. Yes, I hear you. I know you already on the other end. You're like, wait, what about the times where like you just have to like you have to. Yeah, of course. But like this is a moment with you and you. There's a difference. When you're with yourself, who are you compromising? You're compromising you. When you're in a relationship, of course you got to compromise because there's two different people. When it's yourself, it's your two different entities. It's your brain and your body, or your brain, your heart, and your body, or your gut feelings. Those three are conversing with each other. Especially if you sit with yourself. Do you do that? And just like have a moment to just be like, what do I really want? What do I need? So it's not really about compromise. It's more about the strategy. When you learn to take compromising out of your vocabulary, you build the ability to move through both things. The idea of compromising assumes that your goals are in conflict, and sometimes they're not. And it might just be that those things look and show up differently. I remember this time I was talking to my business coach, and she's like, what are your goals? And I was like, well, I still want to build my dance business, my DJ business. I have a boudoir studio. I've got my OnlyFans account. I've got this secret that I haven't told any of you about. And then I've got this podcast that I want to do. And this was before I even had the podcast. And she was like, well, why don't you, pick one and just like see it flourish? And I was like, no, no, because that's not fulfilling me. I want all of it. I want to be able to do all of it. And I got to make the decision that those things are going to look a little bit differently. Yeah, if I went so hard in one of those directions, things might look a little bit differently. All my attention was on the dance studio and the dance studio only. Yeah. And then I wouldn't be a DJ. And then I wouldn't get to see my couples. And then I wouldn't get to like learn this really fun skill that actually relates to dance in the most beautiful way. So that to me is a compromise. That to me is not being my 100% authentic self. So in that moment where I made that decision, I decided, and this was like maybe, 4 years ago, when I made that decision, I was like, okay, well, I'm signing up for it. I'm signing up knowing that those things are going to look differently and that my growth and my success is going to be very slow with those 7 different things. And I'm still doing it. And it still feels aligned. And here we are like 4 years later. And the podcast is here. So that's exciting. So when you start to think about compromising or even compromising yourself, when you put that together, it sounds worse, doesn't it? Compromising. Oh, compromising. It can be like spun as positive. But when you say compromising yourself, it's like, oof, like don't do that. Think more about integration. Think more about your alignment. Think more about duality, living with depth, doing the things that you love and doing the things that are, hard to do. And they're going to get you to your goals. I also like to think about it in terms of layering. It's like you're creating this life full of layers. And this can be obviously like we've taken it to a far broader reach, this whole little concept of wanting to hang out at the beach and kind of like blow off your day versus like the real big picture here, because everything matters. So when you're thinking the next time, like, I just might not show up today, who are you doing that for? Because are you really doing that for yourself? And are you doing it for your future self? The future self that's going to like be kind of mad at you for like blowing off something so important to future you. When we talk about be, do, have, we talk about being in the persona of the person that is doing what it is that you're doing. So for a lot of people, it's, what does that bomb-ass dancer do? Well, she goes to class when she doesn't want to. She trains when she doesn't want to. She has discipline. She packs her bag. She has it in her car. She's ready to go. She understands that moods change. She understands that days drop. She understands that even still, when you show up for yourself, you're getting closer and closer to good things. And you get to show up differently. And I do believe we've talked about this before. And what does that even mean, showing up differently? Well, I told you today that showing up differently for me meant I pivoted from my pivoting. Oh my gosh, still so ironic. I pivoted from my pivoting podcast episode to talk about something that felt more real. Here we are midway through, and it still feels very aligned, and I feel still very so happy. And because I'm here and because I'm doing it and because I didn't break a promise to myself or to Josh, I feel extra good. I even feel better because I showed up. I'm like, wow, like you did it when it was hard. Yay. Now I get to celebrate, and I can celebrate harder. And that's so exciting. And that, full circle, is self-validation. We haven't talked about this in full depth yet, and I know we will soon. And I know I know we talked about consistency, we talked about discipline, we even talked about it in this episode, but we talked about it separately. And I want to talk to you about intensity when we talk about consistency, because intensity is how much of that thing that you are doing. What is the thermometer on that thing? What's the level? The more intense, the higher that level is showing. The less intense, the lower that level is showing. And when you're integrating things, notice how I said integrating and not compromising. When you're integrating two different things into your life at the same time, when you're practicing duality, you may lower the intensity level on those two things. Because, I mean, it's obvious that I'm not going to magically have 24 more hours than you in one day. We all have the same amount of time. And it's what you do with that time that matters most. So, like, think about this the next time that you're practicing duality and practicing integration, and you're doing what your heart really wants, what your brain really wants, what your body really wants, and what your gut is telling you to do. After having that conversation with your 4 identities, go ahead and just like figure out what the intensity levels need to be. Okay, so we had this goal, this goal, this goal, and this goal. All right, I'm going to lower the intensity on this one. I can bring that one up if I lower this one down to there. And then you kind of plan it all out and plot it all out, and it can all make sense. You can also shift things. Like, I'm a big shifter. Like, if I have a pocket of time on one day and I know like I don't have that on the other day, can I move anything around to have what I need and what I want? Some days I don't want to have a pocket of time. I just want to like bang through that day. Other times I want to like keep everything very even and keep things like, but I know that because I know myself, and I've spent time with myself, and I've talked to myself, and I've reflected with myself. And that's how I know the answers. And that's how I know what I want. So if I know what I want, then I can get it most of the time. So just this like little last note for you to take home is done, check mark, doesn't always look pretty. And you might actually surprise yourself too sometimes, like when you don't want to do something and then you show up for yourself and you're like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. Have you ever done that? Oh my gosh, have you ever like gone to a party that you didn't want to go to and you had a blast and you're like, gosh, so glad I went. Our bodies are so used to getting into habits of like being lethargic and chilling. I think it's because like that's what dogs do, right? Like animals, they just like chill all day. We can easily do that. And we can also do other things. Laying down is nice. That feels really good, especially like if you're in pain or if you've been exhausting yourself doing a bunch of things. And remember that there's still seasons to things. When you're working really, 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 really hard and pushing, there's no conversation actually about should I do this or should I do this when you're in that season. When you're in that season, you better just fucking do it. No questions asked. And you probably already know that. And you're probably not even listening right now if that's you because you're so busy in your season. And also, sometimes busy gets misused. Making sure that your busy is a good busy and not like the I'm just busy because I got to do shit busy. Like your busy can be so full of intention so that it makes so much sense, so that you have less burnout, so that you're fully living in the season that you're in. So yes, done doesn't always look pretty, and it can look messy. It can look like being backstage, and it's also done. And it's also messy action. And it's also something that's bringing you closer to what you really want to do. So with all of that said, I just want you to make the best choice for yourself today, tomorrow, and the next day, understanding that you can have it all if that's what you really want. You can push a season so hard without compromising, using discipline as your best friend, and getting to understand the power of still showing up, even when you don't want to. So I hope this was helpful for you today. And it would truly mean the world to me if you could give this podcast a 5-star written review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.